Special thanks to our promotional partners at the American Philatelic Society.
The APS is the largest stamp collecting organization in the world, supporting collectors of any level worldwide.
For more information about membership and APS services, visit stamps.org.
Hi, I'm Michael Cortese of Noble Spirit in Pittsfield, New Hampshire.
And I'm Charles Epting of H.R. Harmer in New York City.
And this is Conversations with Philatelists.
With each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is going to be a two-part episode. We have given people a look at what it is that we do before, sort of a peek behind the curtain. Yeah. I came up to New Hampshire. We broke down a collection together, had a really good time doing it. But we thought it would be fun to, sort of let people in on our, professions a little bit more. And, it's one thing to break up a $50 consignment like we did that day. But, so much of what we do is on a much smaller scale, dealing with individual stamps and covers rather than boxes. So we thought it would be fun. This week, I'm going to sort of walk everybody through the process of describing an auction lot or a couple of auction lots that I've got sitting next to me. And then in next week's episode, you are going to break down a collection, what gets pulled out, what gets left in, sort of the things that you do on a daily basis and probably take for granted a lot, and the things that I certainly take for granted. We're going to sort of walk people through what that's like.
Yeah, exactly. We got in a Vatican collection and a Greece collection, among other collections, yesterday. And I thought they'd be perfect for kind of showing people the pros and cons to breaking out individual stamps, leaving sets in albums, and talk a little bit about the market for different quality of stamps and what the benefit may be to leaving a high catalog value set in or pulling it out, and when is a good time to kind of break your collection, or if the collection will do good as a whole. But I'm interested to hear how you guys lot things, because I don't think we've ever gone through that. Or describe collections. I don't think
we haven't. So I'm going to break it down sort of into like easy, medium, and hard, because there really are different levels of describing. We're going to start with the most basic. The I don't want to say the easiest, because it's still very important and still requires a lot of attention to detail. But the sort of the most ranging from the most literature, the most reference material, to the least when you're really truly on your own. Okay. So I've got 4 items here that I'm going to work through. I'm going to show the item. I'm going to talk about the item a little bit. And then I'm going to share my screen a whole bunch today. Because I've actually got a Word document open, and I'm going to write the line. I'm actually going to describe these items.
In real time.
In real time, exactly. Even though I've already described all of these, and a couple of them are coming up for sale next week. But I'm going to re-describe them. Okay. Because I do think it's an interesting look behind the curtain. So, first things first, I'm going to start with the easiest. And I don't mean easy because it still requires a lot of attention to detail. It's still, it's very important, but it's easy in a way, and I will show you why. A stamp like this.
Yep.
7-cent banknote, right? It's got a cancel. Looks pretty good. What makes this easy, though, is that it is accompanied by a certificate. The certificate says the 2010 certificate, Scott 138, 1871, 7-cent vermilion. It is genuine, used, grade VXF XF 85.
Yeah.
So before we go any further, I want to reiterate one of the first things I was ever taught.
Okay.
The first thing you have to do when you have a certificate and a stamp, do you want to guess what it is?
Make sure that's the right stamp, or...
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Because either nefariously or carelessly, it happens more often than I care to admit that we will have a $1 Colombian and a cert for a $1 Colombian, and you line the perfs up or you line the centering up, and it's not the same stamp.
Yeah.
Again, most times it's probably just a mistake. They got mixed up at some point.
Yeah.
But you have to make sure that the stamp you're holding in your hand is the same as the stamp pictured on the certificate. Luckily here, you see it's got that X in a circle cancellation. And the stamp on the certificate has the same cancellation, same perfs, same everything. Good news is this is the same stamp.
Yeah.
So it's got a graded certificate. What's the next thing we do? I'm going to share my screen. we are going to go to PSE's website. Can you see this?
Yes.
So on PSE's website, they have SMQ, Stamp Market Quarterly, and Population Report.
Mm-hmm.
This is the valuation guide for graded PSE certificates.
Yep.
So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Stamp Market Quarterly. We're going to type in 137. This is the stamp that I've got in my hand. We are looking at a used stamp in the grade of 85,
right? Yeah.
So this stamp's SMQ value is $700.
Yep.
This
so
is
for those who don't know, do you want to explain what SMQ means?
That's a good idea. For stamps that are graded by PSE, there is a valuation guide called Stamp Market Quarterly that is published physically every quarter, but is updated on the website, maybe quarterly, maybe in real time. I'm not quite sure, but it's always up to date. Yeah. And it updates more frequently than a Scott catalog, for sure. If you have a graded stamp, generally above the grade of 80, the Scott catalog value is not what is important.
Right.
It is the graded value. Now, Scott catalog also publishes a grading valuation guide. It's the yellow pages in the middle of a Scott catalog, but for PSE certificates, SMQ is the go-to. This is what you need to check. So I've got a PSE certificate here, 138, 7-cent vermilion, graded 85 in used condition is $675.
Yeah.
So now it comes time to write the description. Every auction house has their own convention. I'm going to use Harmer's convention.
Makes sense.
So we've got Google Docs open.
Yeah.
HR Harmer's convention is to start with the Scott number. So we type 138, comma, followed by the year, 1871.
Okay.
The denomination, 7 cent, and the color, vermilion.
Okay.
Comma. Then the attributes of the stamp. So you look at the stamp. I'd say that's an attractive X in circle cancellation. Could be a lot uglier. Could could be a smudge cancel or something like that. So I'm going to say attractive X in circle cancellation. Balanced margins. Everyone gets to see how sloppy I type now. Fresh and attractive. 2010 PSE certificate graded VF to XF 85. And then in parentheses, we put the SMQ value of 675.
And you don't mention the Scott value whatsoever because that's not
exactly. The Scott value is for a stamp in the grade of very fine. Generally, there's exceptions to that. So whatever a stamp in very fine condition is worth has little bearing on a stamp valued greater than very fine.
Yeah.
So when you've got a VF to XF 85 stamp, all you want to do is just put the SMQ value. Yes. If you have a stamp that is not graded, maybe doesn't have a certificate, then that Scott value goes right at the end. So the main things for a Harmer description are the Scott catalog number, year, denomination, color.
Yeah.
Description, nice attributes first. Faults mentioned at the end. Luckily, the stamp has no faults. And then at the end, you put the grade, whether that's a visual grade of very fine, or if it has a certificate, that will give you the grade.
Yes.
And then in parentheses at the end is the catalog value, whether that be Scott or SMQ. For a British stamp, it's Stanley Gibbons, etc. Then we would set the start price. Typically, we find that stamps sell for, going to really generalize here, 60 to 70% of SMQ value.
Okay.
So we start stuff at generally half of SMQ.
Okay.
So I would start a stamp like this at around $350. I'm not going to put the start price now, though, because it's more about the description that we're focusing on.
Okay.
Done. All the information we need is on the certificate and on SMQ, PSE's website.
Right.
These stamps with a graded certificate are what I would consider to be the easiest things that we describe, in that there's the least number of variables.
Right.
A stamp with a grade is a stamp with a grade. There's a history of sale records, and that's what it sells for. Full stop.
Perfect.
So, Michael, that was what I would consider to be the easiest thing that we work on. Next, I'm going to bump it up to medium difficulty, okay?
Okay.
You are familiar with the 1876 Centennial Envelopes.
Yes.
These were the first commemorative stamped envelopes issued by any country in the world, the first commemorative philatelic item issued anywhere, issued by the United States.
Right.
So it predates the first commemorative stamp by over a decade. First commemorative stamps with the Colombians in 1893.
Right.
You've got this envelope celebrating the centennial of the U.S. in 1876. These were issued in red and green. There were two different dyes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to ask you what color this is, but this is in purple.
Okay.
There was never a stamped envelope issued in this design in purple in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
What does that tell you?
You tell me.
It's a trial color proof.
Right.
And where do you go for trial color proofs of United States stamped envelopes? One might think Scott Catalog.
Mm-hmm.
This is not listed in the Scott Catalog. This is something we have to dig a little bit deeper for. And luckily, the United Postal Stationery Society issued a wonderful book that I'm going to give everyone a sneak peek of right now.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see
Catalog of United States stamped envelope essays and proofs.
How perfect is that for something
exactly
like
what
what
you're
I've
looking
got?
for.
This is by Dan Undersander, one of the greats of United States Postal Stationery, one of the go-tos, one of the most knowledgeable people. And luckily, this book that was published a couple of years ago, I'm going to jump to page 172. Lucky guess. There we see the stamped envelope 1876 issued for the centennial of the United States, correct?
Yes.
And if you look there, look at that purple on white. There's two different shades of purple. We're not going to differentiate here. We're going to say calling it purple is good enough for our purpose.
Well, they don't even differentiate.
They don't.
Okay.
And a specialist would really get into that. But we're going to call this E71JE. Does that seem fair?
Yes. Can I
you can
inquire
ask
as to what is so E71JE? What is 91E on the right hand side? I've never used this catalog before.
That is an old catalog number that I don't recall off the top of my head. That is a former catalog number. Luckily, the UPSS went through and labeled every stamped envelope by die number. So these are all numbered sequentially by die.
Yeah.
The 1876 Centennial envelope were dies 71 and 72, which can be differentiated.
Right.
If you look in the Scott catalog, it has to do with the number of lines in the die.
Okay.
So all of the 3-cent 1876 envelope type 1s are E71J. And then the different colors get their own minor listing. So it comes time to write this item. We are going to go back to my
Google Docs.
Google Doc. We're going to call this an E71J-E. 1876 3-cent Centennial envelope. Die 71. Purple on white trial color proof. There's our title.
Yeah.
Takes the same format: catalog number, year, denomination, and then a description of the item with the color.
Yeah.
You know what? This thing looks like it was printed just yesterday. It's very I would
Are you
going to
use my favorite term?
Very fine and fresh. What is your favorite term?
Ooh, I like post office fresh, but yeah, very fine and fresh.
Michael, I would have used post office fresh except for one problem.
No,
This is a trial color proof that was never issued by the post office.
Yeah, exactly.
So you could not have gotten one of these at the post office, or else I probably would have used that term.
Yeah.
Then we put, I'm going to say rare because it is rare, only a few known. And then in parentheses, here I put SMQ 675 so people know what catalog I'm using. Here I'm going to use Undersander 450.
Perfect.
And there we have it. It is not a Scott listed item.
Right.
It is something that's a little bit trickier, a little bit more obscure, you could say.
Yeah.
But still something that there is a catalog for that is, if you know where to look, Easy enough to find, easy enough to describe. Done. There's our second item. There's our second medium.
For
item.
those curious, where can they get that catalog?
That catalog is available to both members and non-members of the United Postal Stationery Society on the UPSS's website. I want to say it's only about $20. It is worth affordable. Every penny to download the PDF. If you have any interest whatsoever in postal stationery, go buy all of the catalogs they offer.
Yeah.
We're going to take a look at another one right now. You ready for the medium hard-ish item?
Yes. Oh, I remember you telling me about this.
Yes. That just looks like a normal reply card.
Yep.
Printed by the tens of millions, probably in the 1950s. Got the Liberty issue design, 3-cent Statue of Liberty. Nothing special about it, right?
Right.
Where's the stamp, Michael?
On the other side.
It's a reply card. It's supposed to have a stamp on both sides.
Right.
So you see here, this side of card is for address.
Yeah.
That was printed on this side. What's missing
is the other stamp. It's on the other side. They forgot to print the other one.
They forgot to print one of the stamps. Exactly.
Yeah.
This is an error. Probably maybe another piece of paper fell in front of the printing machine and just blocked it, or somehow it was omitted. I'm not going to get into the details of printing reply cards.
Yeah.
But this is missing a stamp.
Yeah.
What do we do?
I assume this isn't going to be in Scott.
An error like this is not in Scott, correct?
Right. So is there some sort of postal reply card? Same
society, catalog. Same website to buy it from.
Yeah.
The United States Postal Card Catalog. It comes out every 5 years. Lou Bussey is the editor. It is an essential catalog.
Okay.
And what we can do, I happen to know, thanks to my notes, that this card is called an MR27 by the UPSS. So let's jump to this section of MR27, issue of 1958. I'm sorry. Cross-reference. This is a Scott UY17.
Okay.
But this has so much more detail than a Scott catalog would have. So we are going to scroll down. Here's all the varieties.
Yeah.
And what do you know? Type 1 on one side.
Yeah.
Type 2 inscription only. No stamp on other side. Michael, does that sound like what we have here?
It does sound like what we have.
It's got the inscription only. Can people still see me in the corner?
Yep.
It's got the inscription only. No stamp on the other side.
Yeah.
Type 1. And the different types are described in detail as well. That's not important. What's important is that it's missing a stamp.
Right.
Now, here we have the different prices.
Okay.
For mint, unused, and used. Michael, where's the value?
Charles, there is no value.
There's no value. It says 1 in parentheses.
Which means it's unique.
Which means it's unique. When there's a number in parentheses, that's how many of this item there are. You're picking up on this stuff, even though you've never used this catalog before.
Right.
You're really catching on, and I think you're going to use this more in the future.
Yeah.
So this is unique.
So when it comes to an item that's unique, you're not going to put a price of any kind.
We're not.
You're not.
I'm going to skip over to my Google Doc again.
Yeah.
We're going to try and describe this as best we can.
And at the end, I'm looking forward to my favorite part.
What is your favorite part?
Where you tell us how you're going to figure out what the starting price for this is.
Yep, I will do that. So this is a 1958 3-cent Liberty reply, message, reply, card, stamp, omitted on reverse. There's a lot of different ways to word this. Inscription, no stamp. This one's still several sales away, so I'm going to work on cleaning this one up. We're just going to get the gist of it.
Yeah.
We are going to say that it has a printed address and message on front, reverse blank, reverse with inscription but no stamp. Trying to think what else there is to say about this. There's not much other than
I didn't see any faults, no nicking, no dings.
No, it's actually in quite good shape. We're gonna say very fine and unique.
Yes.
And then in our descriptions, we tend to make claims like unique, one of two known, earliest known copy. Whenever there's a really spectacular quality, we make that bold. And then we're going to say listed but not priced in UPSS. Yes.
Okay.
What's it worth?
So for something like this, would you look at what the items around it are worth that are...
Correct. So I can tell you this was bought from Apfelbaum, I believe.
Okay.
In the 1980s.
That's tough. So it has not seen the market in 40 years.
Correct. And the market has changed a lot since then.
Yes. Yeah.
What I tend to do is look at other fixed factors. This is a post-World War II postal card.
Yeah.
The market for post-World War II, even rare and unique items, is not the same as if it was a first issue 1873 postal card that was unique in some way.
Right.
So it's modern.
Right.
That's going to decrease the value.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it's unique, which is going to increase the value.
Right.
You can absolutely look at things around it. Other errors on this postal card are valued in the $150, $175 range. That gives us a starting point at least.
Right.
Ultimately, though, as a describer, it is my job to, A, protect the consignor. I don't want to sell this for, we know it's not worth $20. We know it's worth more than that.
Yeah.
But we also have to let the market determine for itself what it's worth.
Right.
So my job is to set a start price that is both fair to the consignor and allows people an opportunity to bid on this uninhibited with no restrictions.
Yeah.
It's more of an art than a science. There is no, if I showed this to 5 different describers, I'd probably get 5 different start prices. My gut feeling tells me I should start this in the $100 to $150 range.
Yeah.
Because I think it'll sell in the $300 to $400 range.
Okay.
We will ultimately see. We can circle back around after this item sells in December.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
And let people know what it sold for. But when an item is unique like that, we have the catalog listing. We have the information about it. But we ultimately do not know what it is worth. And ultimately, the top 2 postal card collectors who need this for their collection will determine what this item is worth.
Right. So can I circle back to the catalog for a second?
Yes.
The prices on there, are they based loosely kind of around Scott values, so it's a percentage of that? Or are those like SMQ where it's the actual price?
Generally, I would say that the more specialized the catalog, the more accurate the value.
So those will be market value prices.
Generally. Now, so here's the thing. The Scott catalog value for a US #1 used is based on thousands of sales every year.
Yes.
How many US #1s change hands?
Yeah.
I mean, between the two of us, we sell close to 100 a year.
Yeah.
An item like this is unique, an item that there's only 5 or 10 known of. They can easily track every sale record. So if there's only 5 copies known of that trial color proof of the Centennial envelope, I would say that the value is much closer to the realistic market value than a Scott catalog value that everybody assumes to be a bit optimistic.
So why not? And this is just curiosity, pure curiosity. I'm not. Why not put what the price it sold for in Apfelbaum in 1980 in the catalog? I assume when your item sells in December, they will update the catalog and say this is the market value for this unique item. Correct.
So why doesn't the postal card catalog list that value, you mean?
Yes. Yeah.
I would say it's a combination of things. I would say it's partially because that sale was so long ago.
Right.
It may have also been a private sale and the sale value was not announced.
Fair.
If it was in Applebaum stock and it was sold privately, then people wouldn't know. So it was probably a combination of those things. Also, with only one item and only one sale record 40 years ago, it's sometimes easier to just say this is unique.
Yeah,
it is worth what you want it to be worth.
Stunt the value if you say it's worth $150 in 1980. Now it could sell for something like $400, $500, but if you say it's worth $150,
I would say the more relevant information.
Yeah.
If it's a postal card that there's 200 of, what's relevant is what they sell for. Right. If it's a postal card that there's one of, what's relevant is that it's unique.
Yeah.
So I would say that's the biggest factor, is that the uniqueness trumps the value that it sold for 40 years ago.
Okay.
So there we have it, a unique postal card. Again, when it sells in December, let's have another episode where we can circle back around and see how it did. I'm going to close with what I call simultaneously the hardest and the easiest sort of thing we come across.
Okay. Okay.
What's going on here, Michael?
Post office. So it's a grid cancel on the postal card. Jefferson County, Ohio.
Post office at Linton.
Yeah.
Jefferson County, Ohio.
Right.
Groff's publication office. Okay. Linton J. Groff, postmaster.
Okay.
March 2nd, 1881. Like, look at the detail of that cancellation. Does that look like a hand stamp, a duplex that a postmaster would have applied?
No, it looks like a like something placed with much more care, like a press or something.
It's a pre-cancel.
Oh, it's a pre-cancel.
It is a pre-cancel.
Okay.
These cards were prepared in bulk with this beautiful design as well. Was applied probably at the same time as the cancellation.
So it's an 1881 pre-cancel.
It is an 1881 postal card pre-cancel. Pre-canceled postal cards are incredibly rare.
Right.
We sold the Josh Furman collection of pre-canceled postal cards earlier this year. Mm-hmm. You don't realize how scarce these things are.
Yeah. I didn't realize they made them.
This is an advertisement for supplies for a postmaster. For only $1, we will send the 11 articles below. A complaint book, 50 beautiful post office note heads, one set of cancellation cards, one calendar for the year 1881, one copying pencil, one package of blotters, 3 rubber stamps, one card sign that says lick your own stamps, and one card sign that says no admittance.
Mm-hmm.
These were supplies that a postmaster could buy to help them out around the office. A pencil, a blotter, things that a postmaster would need. This supply company in Linton, Ohio, decided to sell these to postmasters, and they prepared their own pre-printed postal cards in order to sell them.
That's incredible, because thinking contextually, some of the conversations we've had before with the changing of hands of postmasters so quickly, and anybody,
it was a political appointment still at this point.
Exactly. So they were almost changing hands every 4 years. A company like this putting out an advertisement like that, essentially giving a starter pack to postmasters who wanted to, people who just wanted to become postmasters like that. Contextually, it's really an interesting advertising card.
The other thing that's interesting is it shows, going back to other conversations we've had, the dual roles that postmasters serve.
Yeah.
So the postmaster, Linton J. Groff, was also the proprietor of Groff's publication office.
Yeah.
And he ran the post office out of his own business.
Mm-hmm.
So he was sort of two-timing, where he's carrying the mail and canceling his own mail while also selling supplies to other postmasters.
Yeah.
A postmaster today would not have a side business selling supplies at like one of the counters at their post office.
Yeah.
Also, post offices are government buildings these days. Michael, where do you go for this?
I assume back to the same catalog.
Incorrect.
Really?
Pre-cancels are not listed in the postal card catalog.
Okay. You're not even going to the postal card catalog. You're going to the pre-cancel catalog.
There is a catalog of pre-canceled postal cards, but that's not even where we're going to go here.
Okay.
I'm going to cheat.
Okay.
Do you mind if I break the rules?
No.
Don't tell anyone, even though we're broadcasting this to the world.
Great.
There happened to be a note on the back of this postal card when it arrived.
Okay.
Do you know where the gentleman purchased it?
H.R. Harmer.
Michael,
Yeah.
does that look familiar?
Yeah.
This postal card
Yeah.
was purchased from ourselves in sale 3003, which took place in 2013 before I joined the company.
Okay.
And we can see right here a full description.
Yeah.
And the start price,
Mm-hmm.
the opening at the start of the auction,
Yeah.
and the hammer price, $1,050.
Yeah.
Now, I could, but I will not copy and paste this description.
Okay.
But this description does provide me with a lot of relevant information that helps me to write my own new description. And even better, I know exactly what it sold for just 8 short years ago.
I'm going to interrupt you because I'm sure people will ask, why won't you copy the description?
2-part answer to that question. The first is that H.R. Harmer's website is not the only place you can go to find items that have sold in the past. Siegel Power Search is an incredible resource. Right. Siegel Power Search, you can search by Scott number, by keyword, by whatnot. And a lot of items that come up for auction through us were bought previously by Siegel. Bought previously from Siegel.
Right.
So you can find an item in a Siegel sale. In that case, we cannot copy and paste the description because it is somebody else's words.
Right.
And this is something that is frowned upon in the auction business. You can use that as a jumping off point. You can use this as a resource, but ultimately you have to write your own description.
Yeah.
So I refer to Power Search all the time. I look at what they did. I go do my own research. I synthesize different things and come up with a description that is unique and all my own. As for why I will not copy another H.R. Harmer description, I could. And there's obviously no copyright infringement or anything like that. Right. For me, it's a personal thing. This description was written before I joined the company, and I want to challenge myself. I want to become a better describer. Therefore, I want to rewrite this description in my own words.
Right.
There are stamps that I have written that have been sold that have then come back to us on consignment. And in that case, I have been known to copy and paste the description that I myself wrote.
Right. Can't plagiarize your own work.
It doesn't count as plagiarism if it's your own words. But ultimately, some of the most difficult, most challenging things that we come across, there are pre-existing auction descriptions for them.
Yeah.
And it makes our lives so much easier when I can say, yeah, that's this. I know what it sold for. I know how it was described last time.
So again, jumping in real quick, sold 8 years ago. One of the number one things you're going to want to do with this is double check the photos that are already there to see if there's been any damage to the item.
Absolutely correct. Has there been any change? Sometimes we sell a stamp where the selvage has been removed or something, again, not nefarious, not it's been reperforated or something. But yeah, maybe this postcard was got dinged in an album or got creased or something. Before I go on, is that a cat?
It might be, or it could be a ferret.
That's what I'm wondering. It may be so if anybody is a cat topical collector out there, this will prove whether or not my mother watches my podcast. I'm sorry. Yes, that is absolutely correct, though, Michael, that you do have to check on the condition. Maybe something's been erased. Maybe something's been added. Maybe something's been dinged, folded, nicked. You always want to check that. Luckily, this postcard came from a collector who was impeccable in his storage, and it looks like it's in the same shape. I can basically use the same description, and I know exactly what it should sell for. $1,050 is what it was worth a couple of years ago. That means there were a couple of underbidders probably since it opened at $800. Ultimately, I'm probably going to start this postcard at $500 or $750
so
and see where the market is at today.
For those who don't know why the start price was $600, opened at $800, there were bids before the actual.
There were bids on the book, so the start price was $600. There were bids on the book that brought it to $800. Then the live auction was called, and that brought it ultimately to $1,050.
Right.
I'm not going to want to start it at $1,050 this time because the gentleman who bought it, unfortunately, has passed away. And that means there's one less bidder on this item. The value might be higher, might be lower. It's been 8 or so years. Again, we're going to let the market decide. I think starting at 50% of what it sold for last time is a great jumping off point, and we'll ultimately see where the dust settles this time. So I would love to go through these items in a couple of months and see, based on my start prices, what did they sell for? What does that tell us about the market?
Yeah.
But ultimately, that's the fun of auction. And I know you see that on eBay as well. Yeah. We let these things do what they do. Again, ranging from the simplistic, like a stamp with a graded certificate, to the obscure, like a pre-canceled postal card, of which there are only 4 known, I believe. That wasn't in the description last time. That's information that I have found out since. I hope this gives people an idea of what it is I do. What do I look for? What is it that goes into an auction description? It can be as easy as quoting a Scott catalog value. It can be as difficult as spending half a day researching the addressee or the sender or the route or the rate or the marking. It really runs the gamut. Again, from a stamp with a graded certificate, easy, SMQ value, done, next. To something that requires a bit more research, a unique reply card missing the stamp on the reverse.
Right.
That's what it is I do. If people found this interesting, I would love to do this again. I would love to show you foreign items or postal history items or different things like that. But I thought these 4 items gave a good overview of writing individual lot descriptions for H.R. Harmer. And again, we will circle back around in a couple of months and see what they sold for.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I think this was a good kind of look behind the curtain.
I hope so. We'd love to hear feedback on stuff like this. But I'm excited for part 2, where you're going to do the same thing with collection lots that just came into your office. So I'm going to wrap up my part. I'm going to stop rambling. This is Conversations with Philatelists. You can find us on Apple, Google, Spotify podcasts, YouTube. Philatelypodcast.com is our website. Philatelypodcast@gmail.com is our email. We love listener mail. We should do another episode of listener mail coming up soon. We'll just, not a full episode of it, but mention it in our closing statements. Michael J. Court on Twitter and Charles L. Epting on Twitter. Reach out to us, tweet at us. Tell us what you think of us sort of mixing up the format, going from Legos to auction previews to lot descriptions to whatever it is we're going to try week after next. We're having a lot of fun sort of breaking down barriers of the sort of self-imposed format that we started off with.
Right.
And we'd love to hear what everyone thinks of this. So again, Michael, thank you for giving me the chance to
of course.
Share
this
what it is I do.
This is a lot of fun.
It's something I take for granted, and I love sharing with people. So let's do it again real soon, in a minute.
Perfect.
We're going to record next week's episode right now. So if you notice us wearing the same clothes, we apologize.
Oh, that's a good point. We should should have led with that. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Awesome, Michael. I'll talk to you real soon.
All right.